This program, Dr. Emeka Okengwu is a development economist. Thanks for being here tonight.
Pleasure. It's a great pleasure to be here with you.
Right. We're also joined by Dr. Ifeanyi Okweme, a Greek economist at the Ignatius Ajuru University of Education in Port Harcourt. And Dr. Okweme will be joining us via Zoom at some point in this conversation. But let's come back here to the studio. And in the last few weeks, we've been holding discussions on this program about women in governance and empowering women, bringing more of them into governance positions in all aspects of the country. And we've had both men and women speak on these issues. Tonight, we're concentrating on the socioeconomic benefits of women in governance. Let's start by putting that in context.
Yeah, thank you. I think the first thing we need to establish is when you say you want to empower women, who does this empowerment? Is it systemic? Is it traditional? Is it cultural? Is it social? Is it economic? Now, the moment you're able to identify who brokers the power, then you actually find where the issues are. Because, I mean, it's like what you've just said from that statement is a man's world, but we can let you have some of it. Okay, so this is where this fixation on tradition, on religion, on standards, on optics will come to play. So there's no level playing ground. That's the first thing. There's a demarcation. Okay, you're not talking about human beings. Okay, you're talking about humankind. It's important to make that distinction.
Yeah, I get that. So it's more like, well, it's our world.
Oh yes,
we just want to give you a bit of it so you can come in.
Yes.
So that in itself.
Yes, it's very defeatist. So this is where the whole thing begins to go wrong, and this is where, this pigeonholing, begins to happen. I mean, for crying out aloud, yes, we might allow you to, take a few steps out of your boundaries, but please remember who you are. And who are you? You're not human, you're a woman. So it's very important that comes. And the moment you're brought up to believe that there are some limits, and I can give you a typical example. This is you, 4 kids, first is a girl, second is a girl, third is a girl, and then after 10 years comes a boy. And then you probably start showing your inheritance. Oh, now I've given you a boy. Oh, my role or my stay in your house is now permanent. So these children, your wife, believes that her residency in your house is tied to that young man. And at the point of departure, at the point of your transition, everybody starts looking at him as the chief mourner and as the benefactor of your wealth. And that's where this, if you may, culturalization begins. And everybody seems to think it's normal, for the women to be the ones who make, the house, cook the food, do the laundry, go to market. I mean, it's strange for you to see a guy carrying a list. I mean, not of a list you. I mean, you're in the market now pricing, and somebody says there's another Uncle Cyril, pricing yam. I mean, what's this war coming to? Where is Madame? So these little things that might look a little bit inconsequential are actually at the root of where this problem of social inclusion, begins. And then the big elephant in the room is now access to land. Access to land ownership. Okay, the moment you have kids and they don't have, everybody says, okay, you know what? I'm doing you a favor by giving you education. Because, by the end of it, a woman has no, how did they put it now? A woman has no family until she gets married. It's a cultural saying. Okay, what that means is that whatever it is, okay, you can answer my name at the most, and then you get to a point where you now begin to ask your daughter, when are you going to get married and leave this house? You begin to put that pressure on this child. So when we begin to do stuff like that, you see, these are the back ends that begin to create, what we have now. And then people begin to now see you as entitled the moment you want to cross, that boundary. Okay, I mean, you can't wake up now and say to yourself, okay, you know what, I'm going to stay. I don't want to get married. I want to stay in my father's house. Maybe have my own kids. Go to a sperm bank, get the kids I want and live my life.
That would be considered
haram.
Right. So with all this that you've just spoken about, let's look at women's participation in governance. How far have they gone so far?
Very badly. They have done very badly because in the first place, like I said, you don't even have an identity until you marry. And then when you marry, you lose your identity. Okay? Miss Cinderella Stoba becomes my son's wife. And then she wants to run for office. And somebody says, hell no. You're from Niger State, for crying out loud. I mean, it happens every time. And this is Cinderella Stoba that's giving, my kids very beautiful, wonderful, respected, maybe even one of them becoming the king. But she's not accepted, to be able to do some certain things because she's a stranger. So when it comes to public office, when it comes to governance, when it comes to recruitment, that problem now raises its head. Okay? And then you have a situation where, unfortunately, the man who's married her passes on. And then in some cultures, they actually ask her to take the kids and go. In some cultures that I know. Okay, to say, okay, the man who's brought you here is no more. Hand over everything, our brother's stuff, and leave. And she begins to wonder, these kids, are they not your brother's kids too? These are cultural things. These are things that are traditional, rooted in our way of life. So when you have this background, I'm trying to make it as elementary as possible so that people would not begin to see it as, okay. And I mean, we have President Jonathan coming out boldly to say, in the history of Nigeria, I am the president that's giving more women employment than ever. That is true. But the question will be, after his presidency, is it that women stopped going to school? They stopped building on their skills. They stopped being, qualified for public service and jobs. They stopped, being eligible for public procurement and running for public offices. No, the answer is no. That answer is also, oh no, remember you're a woman. And this is not coming from the men. They're actually also coming from the women folk. The first intro you showed is a very interesting one. I mean, you started by, showing the Senate. 2 days after, or a day after, you saw women. You saw women. Nobody was, a lot of them weren't interested, in what the issues were. You saw women carrying placards to say, listen, be a woman and leave our son alone. So you also now have this gender bias in the gender inclusivity. So while you're blaming us, the men folk, who probably feel very good, I mean, every man is struggling to impress a woman. That's the truth. We live for women. That is the primary, your primary public is your wife. Everything you want to do, trust me, sometimes you're speaking English on television and you're wondering if madam is watching. You might not know it. And then she says, oh, my husband, you did very well. And he gives you some kind of kick. Every normal man is like that. So these are our cheerleaders. Okay, we do everything to impress them. So that impression has to be sustained and maintained by your superiority, in parentheses.
So how do we now begin to change this narrative?
Very, very simple. Very simple. Level playing ground. Way back in those days, you and I were in school, Cyril. It didn't matter if your father was the VC and mine was his driver. If you made a first class, you were going to get a job. That's the beginning. You see, gender inclusion wouldn't be it. And I can tell you, a lot of our women are doing much more. There's a study on the boy child and girl child issue in the Southeast. And at one time, they found that if you go to the Southeast where I come from now, you have more women that have gone to school, gotten up to second to third degrees, okay, than men. I'm in an association they call a FOSAD. It's a congregation of Southeast academics with their PhDs. At least, without being immodest, over 70% of us are women. And ditto for every other part of the country. So it's all about forgetting this, oh, let's give them something, and put it on the table. And I can assure you, countries that put it on the table are doing much more better than we are. Go to Rwanda. Rwanda is a test case. Syria, you go there, you don't see one paper on the street. And look at the governance structure of Rwanda. At the time I knew about it, you had over 60% of them women. And it's a country that is getting very close to zero in crime. Ditto for a lot of European countries today.
It's been said that in our situation, the huge challenges you'd have to face are cultural and religious. Is that so?
I agree. But culture worse than religion. Culture worse than religion. I mean, there are situations where a guy dies and then a woman is meant to sleep with the dead body in the dark because somebody says, oh, you killed him. This is a man you lived with for 20 years, for 10 years, for 15 years. And then some cultures will wash that dead body and tell the woman to drink the water. Some cultures will dehumanize her, get her to shave her head and not take a bath for 6 months. She's supposed to be smelling because she's a widow.
All right. Well, yeah, I think at this point we've been joined by Dr. Ifeanyi Ekweme, a Greek economist at the Ignatius Ajuru University of Education, Port Harcourt. She joins us via Zoom. Good evening, Dr. Ekweme. Glad that you could join us.
Good evening. I'm glad I'm here.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Okay. It would seem that you have just vanished from the screen again. Let's see if we can get you back up. All right. Yes, but
I'm here.
Right, fine, good. Now, we're talking about the socioeconomic benefits of women in governance. Let's hear your take on that.
All right, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about women today. You see, I want to thank my co-speaker that is there. I think he has said a lot about the topic already. I want to say in this section in Africa, I think women have not been given enough opportunity where they're supposed to be. And then you can also see a lot of benefits, just like you were saying, in some cultures in Africa, where women are treated like gods. Even in Nigeria, they're in South, some cultures as well, they see women like no. And if you go to other parts of the country, you will understand that women are being seen as people who are not supposed to be part of the governance of the country. But I want to tell you something. When we talk about this economic benefit of women in governance, we also look at a lot of aspects. One of the aspects we look at, let us look at the economic aspect. When we talk about the economic aspect, let us look at how GDPs are being increased by these women. When women are given enough representation in governance, we discover that the GDP growth rate of the country will surely increase. One, how? These women are mothers. Some of these women are very meticulous. Just like they say, what a man can do, a woman can do it much more better. The fear these women will have, some of us, these women don't have it. So if you give them, I can cite an instance of our mother who is at the World Trade Organization today, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Before she became the finance minister of Nigeria, you can attest that the fact that the Nigerian growth rate was going at a decreasing rate. But when she assumed the helm of affairs as finance minister and coordinating minister of the economy, you can also attest to the fact that Nigerian economy became the fastest growing in Africa and one of the best in the world. That is a fact, That is just that. So look at it. What of our late sister, Professor Ngozi, Professor Dodafiri. Professor Dodafiri, when she assumed NAFDAC, NAFDAC was like an organization everybody can go and do anything you like. But she came there as a sanitary system. Today you can go to a Nigerian pharmacy and get drugs without looking back. That is one of the legacies a woman kept in this country. Going down the line, we can also talk about improved economy. Like I said, I mentioned the mission of Professor William. We are all in this country. I saw how a woman improved this country under former President Goodluck Jonathan. So, if you can, let me take you back to my state, where I come from, River State. When the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory now, Chief Barrister Ezewole Sowore, was the governor of River State, and it was time for election. He said, okay, in my place, let us give women a chance. He said, okay, how do we do it? Women are clamoring for 40% affirmative action. He said, no, these people will give you more than 40%. He said, okay, all deputy chairmen of council must be women. And what happened? They all performed. Those of us who are from River State, these women performed. I think one or two of them became chairman for the incidents of death and thereabouts. And they never did bad. That is on the economic aspect of it. These are women, what women can do. You can also talk about reducing gender-based violence. Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, we're getting you.
Okay. You can also talk about gender-based violence. If these women are given opportunity today, I think they will sensitize these women, the get child, on how to go. The get child education will be prioritized. We will give them more attention. And I can even tell you, even in your home, even in our own various homes, we can see the importance women play. Those of them who have been trained, can see the importance they play in our home. So, they have a lot of benefits. Okay. And if we talk about what they bring to the table, when they talk of governance, majorly, like now in River State, out of the 32 state assembly members we have, I think by virtue of that we lost one, we have 6 women. Costing for former governor, who was gender-friendly governor, I said no, 6 women. Those constituencies that have two constituencies, okay, one must be woman, compulsory. And you can see those women, they stand out as one of the best.
Okay. All right. Okay. We'll return to you in a moment because a number of those watching this program now are beginning to raise some issues. They would like clarification. We have Olaide from Lagos, I believe. Right. Who's on the line? Hello, Olaide, are you there?
Olaide, please. Olaide from Lagos.
Yes, please go ahead.
Go ahead. You are online. Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead.
Olaide, not Olaide, Olaide from Lagos.
Okay, yes. All right. Just go ahead then. Thank you.
The man in white, Olaide, please, from Lagos.
All right.
The man in white said something that just impressed. Yes. Just only that. Yes. Yes. That just impressed me now. The man said, in those days, hello?
Go ahead.
Hello, the man said, in those days, you will see a TC child and a driver that could train his children. Yes, that could train his children to have 4th degree in university. You will discover that both of them will able to secure work without any stress. Yeah, but unlike now, that if you don't know any godfather, if you don't know anybody, the children of clerical officers will not secure work.
Yes.
That is what we needed to work on for this our what so-called leaders. They should try as much as possible to enable us. so that they can enable also to play in a level.
Yes,
I mean,
I'd like you to.
Everybody we have access. Everybody has the same opportunity.
Okay, fine. Because I'd like you to relate what you're saying to the issue we're discussing, which is women in governance and the benefits of women in governance. And I'd like you to relate it to that. But as you just said, you're pushing for equal opportunities to all, both male and female. Right. On that, I get you. Thank you very much for calling in. Let me also take on this question, which has come in on our X handle. By the way, our X handle is back up and running. It's at Tuesday Live NTA. And this question came in. It says, women have low economic power. How do you think this can be improved upon in Nigeria? Dr. Emeka Okengu.
What has caused it? I mean, when you identify the sources of a problem, you have solved it. You mentioned religion, you mentioned culture.
Culture, yes.
You also mentioned women against women. Okay. It's also important that in playing that feminine card, okay, give us, okay, that it doesn't become very competitive. All right. It now becomes, okay, just yield it to us. Yield us this flow. It's important to also state that what we're calculating are the tangibles. If you actually put the man hours that our women put into our well-being, you will be shocked at what value you will get. If we were just to price, what Madame does in the house within a 24-hour cycle, at pricing it at maybe the minimum of 10,000 naira per hour. And you find that this happens day in, day out. Okay, if you put some value to that labor, part of what we're doing is that we are not putting a value, okay, to what we think is traditional for the woman to do.
All right. So we just assume that, look,
it's your role.
It's your role,
okay,
and we're not putting value to it.
No. So the moment you begin to put value into those things you think, okay, I mean, go and try the cost of a nanny. And then put those man hours against what Madam has done with your kids. You would have been owing her close to 100 million, if not more, for just one child over a 5-year period. And I'm not talking about housekeeping. I'm just talking about just taking care of these kids. So part of what we're doing is that we're fixated in some of our traditional ways of doing things. So you can stay on your mother's back forever. I mean, it's when a child is crying and you're home, or the child shouldn't disturb the father. Why should I be the one carrying this, carrying baby? Go to your mom. All of us are guilty. Take her to his mom. Take him to his mom. Get him out of here. Let me get some peace. Now, nobody puts a value to that peace you've gotten by calming that baby. But let's be a little bit more direct. For me, I have 2 girls before my boys, and I am bringing them up as human beings. And I'm saying to them, your being a woman is by your sex, but you're a human being. So you need to struggle, okay? You need to just take that step of faith and believe in yourself and do the things you want to do. There is practically nothing. I don't see any profession right now that is off limits for a woman. They're into boxing, they're into wrestling, they're into everything. They're into aviation. The people who are stuck in space, I think 2 or 3 of them are women, and they've been there for 9 months. So there's no excuse, okay, apart from what it is that we're loading onto them. And then when you want to talk about this population, Cyril, if all the women decided to stand behind one woman, no man will ever become president of Nigeria. No man will ever become governor in any state. Okay. I think it's something that we need to begin to say to them, you're actually the ones who are tying these, strings to your legs. Okay? Now because your husband says, oh, you're my wife. Yes, I'm your wife. What we should begin to redefine responsibilities for crying out loud. I think that's where the problem is, and it's from the women themselves. And I'm a living example to this.
Okay. Let's take this call from Rabiu, who's calling in from Bauchi. Rabiu, hello.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Go ahead.
I am a regular watching of this program, but usually I used to get very difficult to reach you. Yes, sir. Like for Bauchi State government, just recently conclusion of this program of local government elections.
Rabiu, I'm not sure I get you.
So the government make it compulsory that each and every local government should produce
Oh dear.
3 women.
Okay, all right.
Please don't pause, just continue.
3 women. For each and every local government to produce 3 councillor women to represent their local government at that level.
Okay.
So we have almost 20 local government. If you calculate it, you will see there's almost, I think, 60 councillors.
All right. Okay, fine. Rabiu, yes, we appreciate you calling in. However, you keep stopping in the middle, and so it's making your contribution a little bit disjointed. However, we did get you when you said Bauchi State is leading with an example of insisting that in the local government elections, at least three councillors in each local council must be women. Let's go back to Dr. Ekweme, who's joining us via Zoom. You heard the example. Oh dear, I think we've lost the signals there again. But here is one example that Rabiu from Bauchi has given us with 3 women. It reminds me of the current move, the bill that's currently before the National Assembly to create extra seats for women. If you recall that a similar attempt in the last assembly didn't scale through. But this time around, there's a lot of mobilization going on to ensure that what went wrong the last time doesn't happen to this bill. Now, although this is seen as a temporary measure, some have looked at it and said, well, perhaps this is what we need, a deliberate effort to get more women into the legislature, at least for now. Because if you look at the numbers, for instance, the National Assembly, it's so low.
It's also going to be entitlement. And that won't be for a very long time.
Yes, but at least
it will bring us back to what happened in the time of President Jonathan. What we need to do is to make certain that we begin to change the mindset. It's a mental thing. Okay, you need to begin to now make it a sin for you to keep the women folk down, because right now it is the right thing to do. And what is that story? Only very irresponsible women, in parentheses, stay out late and do politics. Now this is the story. Okay.
So you could easily apply that to men as well.
So you could also now say, right, everybody who's in politics is irresponsible, but that's not true. You have a lot of very decent people, determined women, hardworking women. So if there is this virus that has been sown, you need to get an antivirus. And that antivirus has to come from the pulpits. You must begin to now find where, that religious limits have to be, blurred, those lines. Now, secondly, you need to also do the same thing at the level of the political parties, at that level of engagement. Okay, we are just not talking about politics alone. We should be talking about the whole government. When the former minister, Pauline Talent, was minister. I'd had a conversation with her then, and I said, Madam, you know, you're the only ministry that transverses every ministry in this country. Because there's no ministry, there's no agency, there's no department, there's no system that does not have women. So you're actually the most important ministry. But I think the key is being able to build that budge. Okay, and then you put some recruitment system that begins to now bring out the best that can compete, you know, with any other person. Because as long as you're making it a man's thing, okay, or let's give them, okay, the Bauchi is a good example. Three women from every local government or councillorship position, but would 3 out of 30 make any impact? Okay, now, except they get to that point where it can be a struggle. It can be, okay, fine, let's take positions. I don't like what it is. And I got here on my merit. And that's very important. Okay, the moment it is meritorious, the moment merit now is, you begin to now preach meritocracy, it becomes a lot easier. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's not going to be easy. But if all of us who are men decide, okay, it's not every woman, for crying out loud, that sits with men that are sleeping with this man, because this is all this whole story. Okay, the men must sit with women. Well, it's something that happens in politics, that happens in public offices. Okay, you have female doctors treating male patients. So there's this interaction. But at that level of public procurement and public, you know, engagement, you find out that for whatever reasons is what, you know, people now begin to now push it to the limit. So first, our traditional institutions, and then our laws. And these are the laws of entitlements. We must make a deliberate policy, a deliberate law to criminalize making women subhuman.
Okay.
That is just what it is, Chris.
All right. Back to the phones. We have Mubarak calling in from Jos. If Mubarak is still there, can you go ahead, please? Right, we can get that. Okay. Well, again, I believe that we have Dr. Ekweme up and running again. Yes, there you are. And yes, I'd like you to respond to, well, we tried to get in 1 or 2 calls. They were not very clear. However, we heard a bit from Rabiu, who talked about 3 women as councillors in each local council. That's what Bauchi State is doing. Now, it brings us again, I put that question also to Dr. Okengu here, to the drive to get more women into the legislature. And this to ensure that it does not fall flat the way it did in the last assembly. So what are your thoughts on that? Dr. Ekweme? Well, I think we're having issues with him with the Zoom. Okay, you're back?
No.
Well, let's return back to the studio. I said, like, having some issues
I mean,
with
he had some, making some very cogent points.
Yes, the connections have not been very good. But you have hammered a lot on traditional institutions. You said they must be part of it, and you've also talked about laws must be deliberate to make sure that people do not just deliberately put down the chance of women being part of it. Now, again, the question we put here is change is usually very difficult. You find people who already have a mindset. It's either in our educational system or even from the homes, from how families are raised. You alluded to that this division begins right there from the home. Now, how do we begin to deliberately change this mindset?
Very simple. When I was growing up, I grew up in a university environment. My father would buy me and my younger brother guns. You know, we took names, whatever, Dan Blocker, whatever cowboy you wanted to be, knives, and then we'll buy my sister dolls. And encourage them to play these dolls, you know. So you needed to be girly. And then if you had any girl then who who wanted to be assertive. They called her a tomboy.
A tomboy. So that's another challenge too.
They called her a tomboy. But if you bring up your children, and bring them up like human beings, and like my father used to say to us when he was alive, there's only one thing I owe you. I'm going to give you the best that can make you competitive. I'm going to give you enough for you to be able to stand on your feet. Now, this is what we need to begin to do with our women. Okay, the moment we get that, and it has to come from that parenting. I'm not trying to say bring up your girl child like cowboys, but bring them up like human beings with a mindset of their own, and not people that you are preparing for marriage, you are preparing for childbearing, you are preparing to be wives. Yes, you could. I mean, there has to be procreation. Now, they have to be women, but they have to be human. This is very, very important. And what my father also used to do way back, and I'm sure your father did that a lot too, everybody got equal amount of pocket money, whatever it is you wanted to do. So you didn't have any privileges, as a boy, as it were. Now, if we begin to put that in, and every person now does not look up to, oh, God bless my husband. At one time, there's a mindset that started happening in Igbo land. And women started taking this title, Osodieme. Osodieme means I am assisting my husband to get. Okay? And then some of them even started taking chieftaincy titles and then started insisting that kola-nuts will be handed to them. Of course, there was this crazy outcry. I, for one, also wasn't very comfortable with it. But that assertion begins to now move you from, yes, I know, by rights, I'm going to be married to you, but we're going to be husband and wife, and we're going to be partners. Okay? Way back in those days, what you hear men say is outspoken. And no matter what Madam says about it, that's the end of it.
All right.
That's my decision. I'm trying to say, please talk about it. I've been married for 33 years, so I'm just not talking nonsense. And I found out that I have a lot of peace, because women drill things faster and deeper than we do. And let's talk about this. This is what I think. What do you think? Now, it gives that, presentation of that as a union. But what we have in Nigeria, unfortunately, our marriages are not unions. Because a union is supposed to have, two partners who can talk things over. Now, there are also some responsibilities that come with this, our high horse. Okay, you're the man, pay the rent. You're the man, pay the fees.
So
you're the man.
Yeah.
So it all comes with a lot of mix that we must begin to work on, and it has to be some deliberate effort because we are losing a lot, Cyril. Women are suffering, no doubt about it. They are exposed to a lot. Okay, and if you're the breadwinner, and I know a lot of people who have, good university education and are sitting at home because the man says, I don't want a woman who would work. And then he falls ill or loses that job, and he throws the whole family down a cliff.
Okay. At this point, we'll take a message. Stay with us. There'll be more shortly.
You to join the Side by Side Niger campaign.
At Side by Side Niger, we are asking for just one thing: fair representation of men and women in government through elective and appointive positions.
Why do we need more women in parliament?
Why do we need more women in government?
Only 4 out of 109 senators are women. Only 16 out of 360 House of Representatives are women. In the history of Nigeria, there has never been a female governor. Only 7 out of 36 deputy governors are women. In 14 states, women affairs matters are being headed by men.
But guess what? Women are half the population of Nigeria.
Women also make up to 47.5% of voters. More women should be part of making laws and policies that impact their lives. Join the movement.
None of the small people make it not get apple, but make get label to take over around. My name is Anita Alaire Asoa. I have always believed in hard work and dedication and using my platform to promote real change. Nigeria has millions of talented and brilliant women. Women, where we say they are HQ, their headquarters, they pump on its head. Yet we see the same pattern. less than 10% representation in governance. No matter how much effort women put in, we are still underrepresented where it matters the most: leadership. It is not about taking over, it's about balance. When a woman has a seat at the table, it reflects everyone's needs. So like this, time don't reach to join the movement. To join me, let's push for a Nigeria where leadership reflects the true strength of our people, men and women, side by side.
Thanks for staying with us. It's still about women in governance and the benefits of women in governance. Let's try to engage Dr. Ifeanyi Ekweme once again, who's joining us via Zoom. And well, I guess you can hear me at this point. Let's see if we can get him up and running again. Unfortunately, your contributions have not been able to flow because of the challenges we have with the connections. But again, would like you to speak to how we can begin to change the mindset. And as has been observed, change is very difficult. That's one thing we all need to work on, to change the mindset. And instead of what has been so far tokenism, say, okay, it's our world, let's give a few women a chance to. How do we begin to change the mindset to believe that, yes, women are equal partners in the business of development here?
Okay, I think what we need to do first is to have a value orientation and changing our mindset first as men. Because the problem we're having is from the men. And because we men actually from this, to being looking themselves as a inferior being. So if we must start, there should be value orientation. So the men in the workspace starting from our various offices, agencies, we should stop the discrimination. Because if you go to several offices or agencies where you see men and women, mostly where a man is leading, he sees the woman most times as nothing. So this has to change first. And this also has to come down to our various homes. The way we treat our girl child, giving preference to the male child than the girl child, has to change. That is where it starts from. Now, for instance, you have two children, for instance, a male and a female. You come today, you say the male child to a very good school because you believe you want him to come and become a medical doctor or this, that, tomorrow. And the female child, you say, okay, let's manage whatever school, as because of maybe religious or cultural practice as a case is. All these things have to be changed. And how are we going to change all these things? One, we have to carry out this campaign down to the rural area. Because I think at the urban centers and the major cities in the country, there is a lot of orientation right now that meaning that women should take their place in the society. So in these rural areas, where they see these women, and that's where the problem is coming from. Because you see a man who will live in this city and becomes one chief or one traditional ruler, who has to go back to the village and bring one woman and turn her to a slave. All these things have to be changed. Most of the problem we are having is cultural practices, where women are not allowed to perform certain functions or carry out certain activities in our community. This has to be changed. Because as they're growing up, and you say, no, this one is for the male, this one is for the female. What you are doing is to segregate. And what you are trying to implant in the mind of the male child is that, you are superior, and this one is not superior. And when they grow up, it stands that way. Because it will not say, oh, I'm a child. Yes, it is true. Even the Bible says a man is the head of his home. But the Bible never called a woman a slave. Just like the speaker in the CDR says, if you quantify what these women do at our various homes, you cannot price them. Not at all. You can't price them. So at this point in time, I think we should start a campaign It should start and it should begin from our various homes. To the schools, that discrimination to stop. And also, gender-based violence to be stopped. I'm happy today. If you go to the area that I'm coming from, you see a lot of advocacy for the girl child education. A lot of NGOs are coming up today to speak for the girl child education. And when it's the day for the girl child, you see a lot of activities. All those are adding value. They are adding values to what we are talking about today. At least by so doing, in the next 10 to 15 years, 10 to 15 years by God's grace, we can see more women in authority. I will also tell you,
Okay.
women are good managers.
Okay.
Hello?
All right.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, let me just complete you. Women are good managers of our homes. Like, let's say, in every successful home, just turn around and look who is the wife. You will see a home that is flourishing so much. Look at her, turn around. Look at the secretly. Sometimes the man might provide everything. But if the manager of the resources is not up and doing,
okay,
nothing will come out. For instance, you bring it, yeah. So you give your wife money to go and arrange or prepare food for visitors and all that, and she don't know what to do. She it's not going to work. So you see, these women are supposed to be cherished, are supposed to be loved and encouraged because they are actually super beings like us. Understand?
All right. I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Ifeanyi Ekweme, Agric Economist, Ignatius Ajuru University of Education, Port Harcourt. Thank you so very much for your contributions on this segment of the program. Thank you, and we hope to have you again some other time. Well, back here as we round off, Dr. Kingu. Right. Okay, we have a caller. This might be our last caller tonight from Jos. Yes, could you just introduce yourself and tell us your name and quickly ask your question or make your comment?
Hello. Yes, my name is Manzo Tagwal, calling from Jos. Actually, I have to appreciate the program. The benefit of the women, I can see in our representative, Honorable Benilar, in which being her there, she represented us very well. I think being her as a mother, she's a mentor, and she's everything to us. I think for this few times that she has not been there, we're in the lantern, it's like we have totally lost everything. Because the way you're trying to trace her history, she has never contributed or she has never done anything to herself. She used her resources. She made sure that she mentored everyone that comes to her. So being her Honorable Benilar, actually she's a good woman that mostly we're supposed to emulate her. Secondly, what just happened in National Assembly right now, I thought maybe you people can speak about it. But it's like it makes women to not able to come out when they have issues. What just happened in National Assembly between the Natasha and then the Senate President. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, and as we round off, Dr. Emeka Okengu, your final word. Thank you.
Well, I think it's all in our hands.
Right.
It's all for us to understand, like I said to you, that we are all human beings. We are all humankind, made of maybe the female folks and the male folks.
Okay.
And if we realize and appreciate that, and I take you from this, I mean, you know this better than I do, I say women work more under pressure than anybody.
Right.
Experience as a development person has taught me that.
Okay.
So it's our country, it's your choice. I mean, how you make your bed is how you lie on it.
All right.
Langton, if you want another woman, find another Benny and vote her in.
Okay.
I'm sure there's so many more like her there.
All right. Thank you so very much for being part of it. Dr. Emeka Okengwu, Development Economist. We thank you. And that's our program tonight. We thank you for watching. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.